Yo,
All
yo,
right.
yo,
So,
yo,
yo.
yo. How you
So,
been there, Krager?
I've been all right. I think all of Seattle is sick. It's like I've been
It's
want,
everywhere. It's
yeah.
everywhere.
It's that
It's a bronchitis type
it's that
upper
time of
respiratory. Yeah,
it's that time of year. That time of
indeed it
year
is, my
where
friend.
everybody's
It is.
dying. So, I've been watching people suffer. And so I don't know. I didn't feel that good today, but I've been a little bit slow this week. Didn't feel that good today, but sometimes you can tell how sick you're gonna get when you feel it coming on. And I think I just need to drink some drink a little bit more water and just I don't know, just get some sleep. I think I'll be fine. You ever get that
Yeah,
feeling where you can tell when it's coming on, like you're going to be devastated or you're going to just, shake it off?
yeah, and with my respiratory illness to begin with, I get uber sensitive to any kind of sinus upper respiratory issue because inevitably it ends up in my lungs and it's just I mean although knock on wood. I gotta find some wood. Hold on, let me knock on this Winchester Model 70 1946. There we go, just so you have some luck there. But yeah, if I feel something coming on, I get super sensitive. And we were just talking a minute ago about people soldiering into work, and I've become like the if you're into work, stay your ass at home Nazi in our office because um, some people are different. Some people they get a cold or whatever, the flu or whatever is going around, and they're miserable for a few days, but they can work right on through it. But that doesn't mean that that half the other office it hits like a sledgehammer and it just keeps going round and round. I think it used to be. I grew up in you know what? Should we start this thing?
Yeah.
Get it rolling. This is your turn. Let it fly, Craig.
No, I'm a little bit low
Six, right?
energy. Yeah, six.
We're,
You hit it this
yeah.
time.
GnP, Guns and Politics 6 coming your way. Craig Simpson from Seattle, me, Charlie McGrath from Bozeman, Montana. We join you late on this Thursday evening, the 12th day, oh my gosh, 12th day of November 2015. And we bring you another episode. Hopefully, we continue to grow the audience that's listening in. And Craig has been a soldier, making sure that he is in that comments area, answering every one of them. And I promise, I promise that I will get to a point where I can do a better job. I'm just happy that I'm able to put out a video now and again and consistently come on and do a program with you. And this is 6 weeks running. We have a little situation coming next week, Craig, because I fly out Sunday for China and I don't get back until late Friday evening. So maybe we can sneak in and record something this Saturday. I leave
Yeah.
6 a.m. Sunday, so maybe we can spend an hour together Saturday and put something together. But I totally understand if you want to go out and murder some poor animal instead. Or wait, is your season over there?
Season's
Over
over
yet?
until so late season starts. What is it? The 18th, I think, of this month. So yeah, no,
Mm,
19th. So late season is like 19th to the 24th or something like that. So
that's
I'm
so
gonna,
weird.
yeah, I'm gonna try to get out for late season a bit. At least especially during the week. And
I would like
mhm,
to the people that listen, the whatever I don't what are we, 500 to
yeah,
500 plus some. Yeah, so I'm curious on that. I mean, I guess I could look it up state by state, but I think here in the Rocky Mountain West, I think I could speak for Wyoming and the Dakotas, which the Dakotas aren't really in the Rockies, but they're a big hunting culture there. I think most of ours are, we have a general season. Now there's all kinds of other seasons that overlap or come after, in some cases before, but we have one main general season for rifle that is usually from about the 24th of October that runs all the way through until typically the weekend of Thanksgiving is the end of general season. So I don't know. I guess we're kind of spoiled because that's what 6, 7, 8 weeks where we can go hunt on any weekend we want. But I know a lot of states are like yours where they chop it up into these little 2 week blocks, which I guess is okay. But it seems like the pressure out in the woods would be incredible. If you have a 2 week season here, 2 week season there,
It
that's when
is.
everybody's gonna, yeah,
It is.
be out.
It's what I would say is it's if you can go out during the week, take some time off, go out during the week,
Definitely.
and because the weekend is sort of, I mean, it's not hopeless. I mean, it's all about, a deer showing up or an elk showing up. So, I mean, sometimes the other hunters, scare one right to you. So, not hopeless, but I found that weekends are great, but I find myself almost going out on the weekend and not taking it seriously, just scouting,
Yeah,
and then
exercise.
I'm planning on like, okay, Monday I'll be out there taking it more seriously because it's funny, like where I'm hunting, it's it's a ghost town all year, and then come opening season, especially rifle. I hear bow and such is just as bad, but yeah, weekends it's just kind of there's so many people out there. But
Yeah,
I mean, so that's part of hunting. But yeah, I mean, if you're out there during the week, I'm out there pretty much by myself. Once in a while, I'll hear a truck over in the distance going down one of the logging roads, but in general, it's pretty empty. So
yeah, and
yeah,
I know what you mean. I mean, we do the same thing here. I mean, we can go out any weekend, and there is enough country that you could, find a spot to go hike and still have a fairly decent opportunity. But definitely, you go on a Tuesday, Wednesday, take a couple days and go. You're greatly going to reduce the number of people you see, and in some places around here, that's great. You can hike into a park up in some mountain range at 9,000 feet before daylight, and know that when you get up there, you're going to be the only one at the edge of that park. And sometimes it's not so great because there's areas that we hunt around here that kind of rely on the pressure to move herds of elk from one area to another and keep them on the go. So yeah, I mean, I would take less people uh, anytime over being overcrowded. It just gets frustrating, and I think you do have to treat it like that's a scouting weekend or that's just some exercise you want to get in that day.
yeah, for sure. And this year, I'm kind of finding that I probably, oftentimes you go, yeah, I scouted enough. I've scouted so much. I've had trail cams out and blah blah blah. And then season comes and you go, crap. If only I'd scouted more. It's like I think I've realized that this year that no matter how
Yeah,
much you
and
no matter how much you scout it, no matter how much you think you've scouted enough, you haven't. Keep at it, because
yeah,
when season comes, you'll wish you'd scout it further. You'll wish you'd scout it more. You wish you had your trail cams out more. I mean, maybe you get lucky, but so far this year, I just I haven't gotten lucky yet. But part of it is here in the Pacific Northwest, the deer really have to, or the elk. Elk are a little bit more bold. They'll just straight up walk out in a clear cut to pee. They'll be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go out here and pee." They're different, but deer are a little bit more bashful, and so you pretty much have to be in rut season and find a clearing, which is not easy around here. You pretty much have to hunt clear cuts, and deers have to be in the rut and kind of have lost their mind a little bit, and for some reason be out in a clear cut during the day, and that's kind of your chance. So
right.
you know so anyway, I'm not a I kind of wanted to go to Eastern Washington for some hunting this year because you can see, you have space, you can go out and walk, but I'm kind of stuck on the west side here, but it's good hunting too.
Yeah.
I've not really hunted here in Washington much at all, but in the last like 2 years I've started to. And part of it's just getting the hang of it. I'm not used to hunting in a jungle. It's like hunting in Vietnam here, you know,
Yeah.
without the
Yeah,
without the
your trail cam, and I was going to bug you to start. I know you're posting them on your channel, but you should repost them on the Krabby Dog Tricks channel
Sure.
too, just because it's kind of cool. I mean, you're seeing some decent bulls and quite a bit of activity out there.
It's fun. It's actually something I like that you can do during off season is you can do all of your tracking. You can look at where the game trails, where are they bedding, and it's kind of a fun thing to do is to get your trail cams. And I have some that are $65. I have some that are $120. But if you get the nice ones, so I have like one picture, a couple of videos of a bull just sitting there eating by the camera and walking around, and it's
Yeah,
actually fun. It's kind of like a form almost of nature photography. You know, like
Nature voyeurism
it
you
is.
got rolling there.
It is fun to actually get your cams right where they're going to hang out and eat and stuff like that. And so it's kind of rewarding. Now, of course, once hunting season comes along, they just disappear. So it doesn't matter that they were there, now they're not. So
Right.
anyways, I'm
Well, some of that stuff you've been posting, though, it was what, not even a week or 2 weeks ago, you had that bull video.
oh
Was
yeah.
that preseason or was that now? You can't
Um,
have it out in season, right?
you can have it out in season here. Yeah, they don't care.
Oh, okay,
There's
okay.
restrictions in some place, but here you can have it out all the time. Um, no, that's the thing. If I was so where I can get an elk tag, no problem, but where I'm actually the timber company that I get a pass from every year, uh, they don't they only allow like six. So that they have a lottery of everybody who buys a pass, and then they pull like six people out
Oh,
for
I see.
to be able to hunt elk, and then uh, but everything else you can hunt all whenever it's season. So
Sure.
why exactly they do that, I don't know, but the place is just full of elk. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I have to wait for an elk to get out of the way before I can shoot a deer. They're just
Well, they do dominate an area usually here too. But we usually have separation by elevation. Typically you're going to be, in the higher alpine area before you're getting into large numbers of elk. That isn't always the case, but it's certainly weather driven. But for the most part, if you're hunting high elevation, you're going to be hunting for elk. That doesn't mean you can't roll across a monster mule deer, buck, or whatever. But yeah, they are where you find them. That's what they say.
definitely. So you did a new video. You did. This may sound crazy, but we've been taught not NTGAF,
Yeah,
which
I had to vet that through my son, my 15-year-old. I said, son, does this make sense? And because they all speak the shorthand, and yeah, he's like, yeah, oh, yeah, I know exactly what that means. But yeah, it wasn't a video as much as it was just an excerpt of was our last GnP
was it?
or well, last or one before that where I just went on a mini rant about how we're all being desensitized to everything. I mean, from political to domestic issues, to foreign issues, and the more outrageous, the better, because it just desensitizes us more and more. And I'm in a very Eric Lovely-esque type place. By the way, I did message him tonight to see if he wanted to join us, and I just haven't heard back from him. And it's not Eric's fault. We've kind of pushed the night back a couple nights this week, so we will definitely get him on here at some point. But but anyway, Eric has always been really jaded, in my opinion anyway, jaded on how the public en masse acts, almost like a social engineer, type. He's looking at the herd mentality versus the individual mentality. And it's, the more that we go along and the more degradation we see, the more I got to agree with him. People just don't give a crap. They don't care. They want to just, in that video that you're referring to,
Hmm.
I turned my Samsung on, put it in my pocket, and just walk through Walmart and use that video with the with my audio
Yeah.
from that program. And and I wanted to do that because this is what I think when I'm in not necessarily a Walmart or just when I'm in public and I see that people are striving so hard to maintain normalcy. And in a lot of cases, I think it's, they get, as we understand, you get so wrapped up in your day to day. You get so wrapped up in worrying about your bills, worrying about, is your 401k growing? Are raises coming? Are you going to be able to put your kid through school? And what's he going to do when he does go to school? And so you just get caught up in the day-to-day life to the point where you just kind of tune out on what's happening on a bigger, grander scale, because until it comes down, slaps you in the face, in a lot of cases, not every case, obviously, or there wouldn't be activists in the world, but and I hate to say most cases, people, they barely understand events happening on their block, let alone do they dedicate the time to understand what's going on in their name, around the world. And, so, that narrative with a cruise through Walmart kind of, paints the picture of what I was trying to say in there. Most people are tuned out. Most people are shocked the first time something happens. And it is now at a point where we're so desensitized on, whatever. Nothing is going to, at this point, what would it take? What would it take, Craig, to shock our society? I mean, it's not going to be another 9/11. That ain't going to shock us anymore. It's not going to be another, fiscal meltdown. That's just not. I mean, it's old hat. We've done it. We've been there. We've been immersed in it, and we're all led to believe that don't worry, go shop, everything's under control, and it's been I guess you could look at it and say it's been a masterful job of the upper elite, the brokers of power who are in my opinion engineering the conditions in the world. It's been a masterful job in telling people to just drive on, continue doing what you're doing, and as long as we can peddle money out of thin air and we can keep expanding the amount of debt we all take on, it'll last, it'll work. And I do feel sorry for and I've been saying this for a couple of years. I feel sorry in some respects for the people who are going to be hit the hardest, and that will be the people who are in that video. Just hey, it's Saturday, let's walk through Walmart and fill up our cart with cheap Chinese crap, and pretend everything's okay, run up a little bit more debit or a little bit more debt on our credit card, and enjoy living. And when it comes crashing down, and I firmly believe it will, those are going to be the people who are literally totally hopeless because they had no clue. They didn't bother to pay attention to, how things work in the world for real. And their world's just going to come tumbling down around them. And it's going to be, a very, very horrific scenario. And even us talking about hunting, it's just the way my brain works. It's the way my brain works after doing this for the last several years and truly trying to be a student of what's happening in the world. Even when we talk about a subject like hunting, I think to myself, all the people that I know or have known in this alternative media, independent media, who have a romantic notion that, if the lights go out tomorrow and we're entered into some kind of Uber crisis, EMP, or solar flare, and we're back to the year 1850, technology-wise, at least what works, and they have this notion that they'll just be able to take to the woods, and provide for themselves, provide for their family, and I know, anybody who hunts knows. Good luck with that. Good luck with a nation of 300 million people all doing desperate things in order to try to keep their family fed. That is not a romantic notion. That is a horrific notion on a biblical scale.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for one thing, you have to get to the woods, and gas might be sparse to get to the woods. Sure. There has to be security on the roads. I mean, the roads have to be functioning to get to the woods. And then, let's face it, I mean, when you're hunting, I call it truck hunting. If you're just driving around looking for a deer on logging roads, if you can look in the clear cuts, or if you're like where you're at, where you can, in your part of the country, where you can see a lot further. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, a huge percentage of hunters, and I kind of wish it wasn't the case, but they truck hunt. They don't get off their ass and actually go out and walk and hike and climb things. But some do, many do, but a lot of truck hunters. So you got to get there in your truck, and then if you're a truck hunter, and I look at it like a lot of people aren't in shape enough to hike. Uh, I mean, they're really not in so I give truck hunters a hard time, but a lot of times it's, it's a 70-year-old guy, you know. So, but that burns up a lot of gas. I mean, if you're out there truck hunting, I mean, so you gotta have gas to get out there, then you gotta have gas to go truck hunting, and then refrigeration. If you don't have refrigeration, what do you do? And then, of course, how many days are you going to be ready to stay out there? And I mean, are you a good shot? Like, what's your distance? Like everybody when they're hunting has that, like, I would shoot up to this many hundreds of yards, and after that I wouldn't because I'm not a good shot, And then you've got like what I saw in Somalia when I was there, and I saw society having kind of fallen apart. That is, shit has hit the fan. The sewer doesn't work anymore. There's no running water. There's no security. I mean, uh, if you let's say you get lucky and you bring a deer home, well, if your neighbors know about it, you might be out of luck. So yeah, I mean the whole scenario is oversimplified. I think whenever I hear people say that I just walk into the woods and I would, yeah, right. Like for one
Yeah,
thing,
well, and
do you do that on a
it,
regular basis? Because if you don't, like I don't know. It's funny. I hear that and I think I don't blame people. I just don't think that they know what they're saying.
well, I think it's a matter of, and I don't care if you're listening in Louisiana or Washington or Montana or Idaho, Wyoming, wherever. It doesn't really matter. It's easy to have a perspective that you can go get lost in the wilderness and have thousands of acres where you're going to be the only one. And you know what? That might be the case in 2015 when you come home and you can buy a burger on the way home and you have a refrigerator full of food. And let's just face it, the majority of the people, even in these Rocky Mountain states, the majority do not go hunting. And so if you are in a real, you know, end of days type crisis, and you're not getting adequate supplies in food and gasoline and everything else comes with a modern society, you're not getting those things anymore, or at least you're not getting them in a way that sustains society as we know it. What the hell, man? There's a reason why that timber company let 6 people kill an elk on their property. They're trying to manage a herd. So what happens when everybody becomes a hunter? Then it's a free for all.
Oh yeah.
Then even if you do get something, and if you're in those desperate of times, you got to have, you almost have to have military tactical skill to get your meat home. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because
Well,
the easiest way to hunt is going to be to steal it from somebody else.
and people will do that, and that's the thing is
Absolutely.
like we used to travel. I mean, historically, if you look at, we used to travel in bands of like 20 or 30 to go hunting, and part of that was, security of the group that was going hunting, because
Hmm.
that's what I saw in Somalia a lot was that there's a great video by that guy Nut and Fancy. You've probably heard of him on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he does this one called Fear No Evil, I think it is, and it's about like a without rule of law scenario, and you know he really covers it great. He gets into a lot of insightful ideas, and it kind of it does ask a question like, why are some people so evil? And it's something I used to ponder a lot in Somalia was, okay, so we have these long lines for water because we've got running water now in the city, and so people bring their jugs and stuff to get water, and then we're also feeding people, so we have, okay, we're giving out food. Well, the thing is, some people will just get in these long ass lines that weren't even that bad really, and get water, get food, and then head back to their blown the crap house basically. But then there's some people who hang out just on the outskirts and rob them. It's like they
Sure.
could get in line, but they rob them. And then there's one thing I noticed in Somalia was one of the first things that happens after like total shit hits the fan that you see starting to happen is commerce. Usually of food, water, And there were some farmers and people who had food. So there was like a market, kind of like a big, farmers market. But imagine being able to buy like toilet paper at the farmers market. So, food, canned food, perishable food, toilet paper, ammo. I mean, kind of, it's almost like my sort of like dream farmers market. But anyway, the shit hits the fan market, and so people would go there. But one of the first things that people had to do was actually have their own sort of militia, you might say, to defend the farmers market, to keep it safe. But then also you have to really defend the roads to and from the farmers markets, because we used to call them the bandits, and they were always waiting on the outskirts just to rob people. And
Sure.
if we didn't guard the markets that people were putting together, basically farmers markets that you have every day, these guys would come in, and rather than just rob everybody, which they would do, then they'd shoot everybody. And you think, like, you robbed them. Why do you got to shoot them? So I guess in a sense that it's along the same lines that we're talking about, is that I think a lot of people don't grasp that there's evil in the world, and quite just how nasty it is. So with the whole shit hits the fan scenario, if that happens, so first you've got people who need insulin, you've got people who need medication. They're not going to get it for a while. It's very heartbreaking. Family members die from that. Somebody can't get their heart medication. They don't last very long. And a lot of people who need medication, hopefully they're a bit of a prepper and they stock up on it. Most people I know who need something have stocked up on it one way or the other. And
Yeah, but there's some things like insulin where you can't. It's temperature sensitive, and I mean you can so you can to some extent, but
and I know a person who actually created a solar fridge to take care of theirs. They actually they're actually that much of a prepper. They're like, well, I just need it not, and don't want it to freeze, but don't want it to get too cold. Don't want it to get too cold, but don't want it to get warm. Pretty much even room temperature, a little chill is good enough. And they're like, well, see, a 15-watt solar panel and a marine battery and like one of those little like car coolers,
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey man, shit hits the fan.
Cool.
I got it right there.
Well, I think we're talking horrible scenarios, and I'm glad you brought up Somalia, because that will help kind of put it into perspective. Because we could say EMP, wiping out North America. We could say a solar flare wiping out, the planet as far as electrical grid. But that to somebody who would be listening to this, realm of thought for the first time would be as fantastic a fantasy as, going and see, The Wizard of Oz. I mean, this is just something that is, kind of cool to dabble in thinking about these scenarios. But come on, really, we're going to have something to send us back to the Stone Age. So I'm glad you bring up Somalia, because there is a region of the world that is destitute, right? And
hit
poor.
the fan for them. Shit hitting the fan can be localized.
Sure,
it can be
local.
It can be your city. Yeah.
Well, all of West Africa, all of now North Africa with Gaddafi gone, and the turmoil that continues there. But if you look at Iraq, destabilized, 23 million people, 35 million people, is a good little, microcosm of 10 times smaller than the United States population-wise. But what happens when a crisis hits? Now, this isn't fanciful. This isn't far-fetched. It's happening right now as we talk tonight. These situations around the globe are occurring. So it ought to tell us that if it can happen in Iraq, if it can happen in Somalia, if it can happen in countries
Detroit.
around the world right now, right now,
yeah.
What makes us think that these situations couldn't happen on a national level? North America, the Western Hemisphere. Why not? It could, and it very well could happen by design. But tying that into how crazy people get, and rightfully so. I mean, if you're trying to feed yourself,
individuals get crazy, but
sure.
And people make bad decisions, and people become very selfish. They're like,
what if you got to feed your what if you got to feed your 3-year-old kid? What if you got to get insulin for your 3-year-old kid?
Yeah,
you're
gonna do
what are you willing
to
do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to do whatever it takes. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
people do whatever it takes. I mean, I think some people have a certain real, hard-coded moral sense, and there's just some things that like they wouldn't do. Like I
Mm.
can speak for myself. I know there's just a lot of things I just wouldn't do if I had the option. But like I don't mind starving. I'm not gonna, shoot down a market to rob everybody. I'll just be like, oh well, life's over. But um,
I don't know. I don't know if you would, Craig. I think that's
wishful thinking. It's
wishful
easy.
thinking. I think you
Yeah.
get hungry enough, especially, I think you're a moral guy, but I think starvation on an individual level, maybe you would just take a bullet and eat it, because why suffer through this hell?
Yeah.
However, your loved ones are a different story. I
That's the
think we would
thing.
fight tooth and nail to make sure that you could provide for them in some sort.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I wanted and I'm going to get way off. We're going to get way off down the road here, but I wanted to tie this back into the elk hunting and this notion that I can just take to the wilderness. And so I got some stats up here, and it is an eye opener if how many people could potentially be looking for sustenance in a breakdown crisis situation. And just looking at elk, for an example, that's going to be your go-to animal. How many are there? Where are they? And how many, what kind of population could it sustain? And as of 2009, the estimated number of elk in the elk states in America, in the West, was 1,031,000. That's a massive increase from where in the early 90s, it dwindled to, estimates as low as 100,000. And it took until 1984 to get them up to about 700,000. And, here we sit at about a million. So a million for, scores of millions of people that might potentially be thinking of using that as a food source. And you're looking at, I'll just give you a few states here. Washington's not listed for some reason, but Arizona, 35,000 head of elk is what they predict. And you have Colorado, which I believe is the most elk-rich environment in the country. 262,500 is what they estimate as of 2013. Well, 262,000, you have, 3 million people living in the greater Denver area alone, which, by the way, is pretty far away from where these elk are living to begin with. Even Montana, very sparsely populated, a million people live here, but there's only 140,000 elk in the whole state. So, I mean, when I hear people talk about the fanciful notion, romantic notion, going back to all being, what's the dude in Washington, McDodge, going to go out and live on the land. Well, you better learn what bugs are good to eat, because that's going to be your best choice for protein.
Yeah, here in the Pacific Northwest, when it's season, you could definitely get pounds and pounds and bushels of chanterelle mushrooms and oyster mushrooms, and you probably, I'd probably be taking that more seriously than hunting anything. Although, I mean, I will say that if anyone's going to go out and get the animals in that situation, it's going to be the hunters, and that's probably about it. You know what I mean? I think that's about it. I think you'd find some hunters that, especially when it's off season and the animals are they're not really paying attention, and
Sure.
you don't care if you shoot a doe, or any animal really when it comes down to it. I mean, during the Great
A
Depression,
dog.
a dog, yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
bear. I like bears. So
Have you ever eaten a bear?
I have never, but I want to. So, but also
I've eaten,
baiting.
I,
Yeah.
I've eaten, black bear. I've eaten black bear, and it's, the way it was, everything's about preparation, but it was absolutely horrendous.
It depends
It
on what
was
they've been
horrible.
eating. If they've been like living off a dead elk for a week, they're awful. But if they've been eating like berries, if it's that time of year, then it's a lot
Oh,
better from what I hear. But they pretty much taste like what they eat, and well, bears eat some nasty shit. So sometimes it's like amplified dead something. Um,
yum.
yeah, so I think that I mean people are gonna be out, duck, goose, grouse, squirrel. So I think like your hunters who had the mobility, especially ones that live rural in the first place, might very well, shoot that one or two of those elk that come and like eat their roses, in the backyard, and share it with their neighbors probably. So I really think that whole notion is only going to work for people who already hunt. I mean, and that's about it. Everybody else, forget it. Because for one thing, you got to know where. And I think if you ask a lot of people, well, where would you go hunting? They'd say, well, the woods. Well, there's a lot to it. I mean, people own that property. Some people might not want you there, and especially in a shit hits the fan scenario.
Yeah, they're going to shoot you.
Yeah, hunting grounds may become very territorial. I mean, like this is our area, and so yeah, I almost kind of really want to stay out of the woods at that point, unless I
Me
already
too.
know my way in and out. Like if uh, I'm saying I wouldn't go out. See, it gets tough. So I look at a scenario like, let's say, like here's kind of a shit hits the fan scenario. Let's say that um, Russia and America, somebody bombs somebody, somebody shoots somebody, and over there in Syria, and then
Hmm.
you've got, Russia and China are like, okay, America, well, F you. Iran's already like F you, and then they just, they've already backed Assad. Then they go, well, you know what, we're gonna go and Iraq welcomes them and kicks us out, and then they lead on Saudi Arabia and say, hey, you know, which how do you want this to go? And Saudi Arabia says, you look like you got the the bigger club around here, so we'll just join the BRIC nations. Will you buy our oil? And they say yes, in gold. And they go, okay, well, F America. And then Saudi Arabia pulls all their money out of our stock market, really kills it. So does China, pulls a lot out, and then you get into this sort of hot war or very, very, very hot proxy war. I mean, what would even happen at that point? It would be terrifying to the whole world,
Well,
and
we should be terrified right now because
because it's going on, yeah. And then of
it's
course,
going on.
and they could devalue the dollar greatly. So I look at things like, I look at a situation where, like, tomorrow the world's not necessarily that incredibly different, but the dollar's been devalued an extreme amount. The market goes to crap, and a lot of people
Hmm.
just don't have their jobs. Like non-essential. Like if you're a plumber, yeah, you're still working, but if you were a tech worker, no one gives a shit about the cloud anymore at that point. Um, and it might not even be, you may find that with kind of a martial law situation, that the internet becomes kind of a martial law situation.
Sure.
So, it's kind of a need to know, military only, whatever kind of thing. So I look at something like that where the next thing you know, it's, oh, week one is bad, week two, week three, and the next thing you know, I'm just sitting at home. I'm like, well, nobody nobody cares about where the I'm not gonna say where I work, but let's just say all those big stores have been looted now, and it's not really
Or
safe
you're afraid
anywhere.
just to go. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, well, I'm not gonna, the person who works at Walmart, well, it's already been looted, and it's, there's people living in it now. So I, I like it more of a gradual slope like that, where things went bad, and yeah, we recovered. But I mean, you're going to see we'd recover in time, but you never know. I mean, what if all of a sudden you've got, China decides to, that it would like to have California and invades through LA, Shit, it could do it, you know? I mean, what if you get, Russia says, well, hey, Mexican, not Mexican, but hey, Mexico, would you like, lots and lots of aid and a nice life? All you gotta do is let us put huge bases right there so we can harass America. And then the next thing you
Sure.
know, you've got, California's not part of America and Russia is like right there, on
Yeah.
Texas's border. I mean, I don't know. So
Uh,
shit can,
all of a sudden, California becomes Ukraine, and
yes,
and this wars, this hostilities in our backyard, and oblivious is most people to this potential situation that I don't. I mean, you say it, it doesn't sound far fetched to me. It just doesn't. I mean, I think
it's just
that
following geopolitics. It's just following
yeah,
things in the direction that they're going.
yeah, absolutely, and we had yesterday. It's being reported anyway that Israeli struck some targets inside of Syria, and that is in direct conflict, the ability for aggression to escalate with Russia and Israel right there. The report is that Israel had bombed some pro Assad factions And these are the people that, Putin's got troops, or he's got aircraft anyway, in there supporting. So, yeah, that meltdown crisis, that proxy war is getting real close to home. If you're talking about Israel and Russia, potentially combatants over Syria, let's face it, like it or not, we as a people, as this nation, we are neck deep in what happens inside of Syria. Don't be fooled by the only 50 special op troops that Obama has slated to go down there. If you want to know where it's going, listen to listen to the Republican debate, and it really doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. The waging of war will continue to escalate under either side, under left or right, blue or red. It's going to continue to escalate. But you can just hear the rhetoric by the potential Republican presidential hopefuls in that latest debate this week, and it's freaking terrifying. They're just straight out calling for direct support against Russia, all but saying that what they need is a good swift kick in the butt by America. And I'm like, oh my God, this is snowballing. And for those of us old enough to remember the Cold War, at least there was parameters, that good, bad, or otherwise, there was parameters. There was a West and there was a East, and the lines were very, very well documented, and it was the rare occasion where America would go into a Vietnam or Russia would go into an Afghanistan, and the world respected each other's positions out of fear, if nothing else. But now that isn't the case. That isn't the case. Borders are fluid. And alliances are fluid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and right now there's, like the BRIC nations are, very intriguing and interesting looking to a lot of nations that could go either way. Like I think Saudi Arabia is really a swing state, as I call it. Like right now, yeah, they're our friend, but are they really
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I mean, well,
yeah, okay.
And friend's not a good word for it, but there are
no, there's an ally. I don't know if it'd be considered to be strategic ally. I don't, if their borders were threatened, all of a sudden we would become a strategic ally, as we did during the Gulf War. But
yeah,
come on, it's Saudi Arabia. They're every bit as much responsible for hostility in the Middle East and abroad as anybody else. They're as loyal as the dollar is valuable.
Yeah, I look at them as like they're like a dog. They're loyal to whoever has the better treat. Just to be honest with you.
Yeah, no kidding.
And that's how I see it. So I think that like if something did go down in Syria, I think that you could see China and you could see Russia and Iran leaning on them and saying, hey, we can just take you right out if we want to. So time to join the BRIC nations.
Yep.
So
yep.
And what are they going to do? What I mean, it wouldn't be too long before America was spread too thin, and So I look at that. I think shit could hit the fan on a national level, but I think it would be kind of gradual, and I don't know. I mean, if the dollar went flop and everybody was scared and a lot of people aren't working, it's good to be a bit of a prepper, because I think that it's good to just be ready to stay home for a while. And I think it'll be okay. Of course, I say that and I live in Seattle, which maybe isn't the best spot to be, but it's my line of work. And
you might want to head inland if it goes south.
Oh, I go east. East.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Head inland. Come visit me here in Montana.
All the way to Montana. Yeah, I'd be like, yeah. And that's the thing, is I think the people who have the smarts are always going to be a little bit ahead of the game, because like to me, I wouldn't wait around too long. I'd be like, Charlie, I just bought a trailer. I'm going to put it in your backyard.
Yeah, I think you're right. History has definitely shown that if you see the handwriting on the wall and you don't take advantage, then you're going to be caught up in the fray. But maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, a dollar collapse, dollar crisis. Obviously, that's national. That's immediately national. But who knows? Who knows how this plays out? I honestly think um, we're going to be looking at this ultra hard right nationalistic push in the next couple of years that are going to, they're going to rival what was going on in Europe in the 1930s.
And it's just crazy because I look at that, like at some of the GOP candidates just saying, we just need to show Russia who's boss. It's like, have
Yeah.
you ever looked at the size of their military and the fact that you're not just talking about Russia, you're talking about the BRIC nations. Maybe not India so much, but you're talking about like, and also you're looking at. I look at Putin as somebody who totally holds a grudge about the Cold War. It's not. I think that man would love a lot, along with a lot of other people there in power in Russia. And I mean, I don't know their culture really well, but I believe that at least as Putin is as far as he's concerned, I mean, he would love to get some payback for Afghanistan. I mean, we have burned them pretty bad in the past, and I think that I bet you when Putin is messing with us right now in Syria, and which I think he has to do for the good of his country, but I'm sure he's thinking about Afghanistan and those rockets that we were selling, the Mujahideen and stuff like that. So I think I think you got a pretty good chess player who's really enjoying some payback right now. So yeah.
I think he knows that. I mean, first of all, I think his reaction is he's flexing the former Soviets' military might, but in a lot of ways, it's to counter what NATO is doing in his own backyard. And I think it's a message saying, hey, look, Crimea is ours. There's no peace coming to eastern Ukraine. Therefore, there's no peace coming to Ukraine. And, as he continues to shore up his strength on his borders, he's going to show that he can head. Hold on, my kid's sticking his head in the door. What's up? He hates my new HP computer because all of a sudden, when I'm streaming on this, he loses all of his Madden opportunity.
Oh.
And I don't know what's going on. I used to have excellent internet Wi-Fi, but it's been horrendous lately. But anyway, back to Putin and what he's doing. I think he's seeing weakness. I think he's seeing, and that's what the GOP, they were talking the weakness of will, but I think he's looked beyond that and he sees, a nation that has been at war. Craig, since you and I were snot-nosed 19-year-olds in the military, basically, since that time, we've been on some kind of war footing, and namely, since 2003, we're a nation at war, and I think he sees a nation that's weak in will to see more violence and probably weak in resource. I mean, we're $20 trillion in debt, where the global economy is held together by the will and the whim of central bankers. That game can't last forever, and so he's inserting himself. Oh, that sounds bad. He's interjecting his will into the Middle East and into North Africa. And and what happens when, God forbid, Donald Trump or somebody like that makes their way to the White House? That this made-for-TV primetime attitude of they just need a good swift kick with that American boot in their hiney. I mean, that's the mentality.
Yeah, and that's tough. And I don't know what would serve us better now, weakness or strength. I don't know. And I mean, I think both has a, it was something I believe is that we have a lot of, I always joke it's a bad word, I guess, but like a lot of degeneracy. And I think it's one of the reasons that a lot of these things may be, happening where like you look at America's position as being kind of weak, where like you think about our politics and a lot of the things going on in our country, and so much of it is just, I think, has America become over domesticated? Like we actually have like debates about using, like I want to use the opposite sex bathroom and stuff, like just the stupidest shit in the world. Like I don't know. It just makes me wonder sometimes. So some of our issues, like a lot of the college students right now with the walkouts because
oh my God, yeah.
And I just go, I can't even really honor any of it. I go, you train people to be weak and petty, and now the chickens come home to roost. It's like it's gone as far as it can. So I don't know, and I will say that I think it's kind of an opportune moment for him. I think because like during the Bush years, most Republicans became, or people on the right became fairly demoralized by Bush. They were like, you know, they just not many were really happy with what was going on. And then you look at now, you've had almost 8 years of Obama, and a lot of people on the left are now demoralized. So I think like now we're running into a situation where like how do you explain the NDAA? I think that pretty much happened on Obama's watch. Look at the TPP. Hey, that's him and Kerry. It's one of their babies. I mean, you look at and of course, mass surveillance has only gotten worse. And so you look at it, like I think that anybody who's really aware or thinking, who was on either side of that, kind of artificial barrier, the left and the right, they're
Hmm.
going into this next election. They're all just kind of. I think everyone's kind of demoralized. It's like, well, basically, I think anybody who has an allegiance to either side realizes, well, yep, there's nobody. There's like that whole, era of there being a difference, is over, I
Well,
think.
and you know
So,
what, Craig? I agree
mhm,
with you. I agree with you on that, but I believe that's because both sides are working for the
yeah,
same goal. They're working for consolidating their power, both of them. But and I don't give a crap what any of those people up on that stage say at the GOP. Even Trump, the almighty Trump, which, oh God, I hope we get a chance to get into that a little bit because um, that man terrifies me. I mean, he just freaking terrifies me. But they're all for bigger government. Even the Republicans who get up there and say, we need to make government so small we could barely see it over the horizon. Listen, for the Democrat haters out there, not an apologist for them, not a Democrat, but don't get sucked in to that lie that your party is for smaller government. You might have individuals, you might have, people that that are in a position of mild power in government who are striving for a smaller government. But make no mistake about it, the leadership in the GOP, the leadership in the Democrats, they have no desire other than to increase the size of this government. Because if you increase the size of government, you increase the amount of money that you're spending, the more power they're compiling and the more benefits they can hand out to their funders, these banking institutions that are beyond out of control. So I do believe that there's people that are dejected because on both sides of this equation where people are having no choice but to realize, no, Gitmo's not closing because we get a liberal. No, the notion that we're going to have smaller, less intrusive government isn't going to come to pass because we have a Republican potentially coming in. And I love to hear these anecdotal stories about or listening to these to the far neocon radio program hosts who were talking about Obama's surveillance, Obama's police state. It's true. Obama's presiding over this country as a virtual dictator, but no different than the one before. No different than the one before, that led in Homeland Security, that let the Patriot Act that was pre-written before 9/11 become law of the country. So, but if we're arguing amongst ourselves about, the damn Democrats did it, the damn Republicans did it, then who cares? Nobody's paying attention to the fact that we're on this march, increasing velocity, marching towards total communist style fascism and communism merged together into this dominant control apparatus that, like I said, the leadership of both parties, our government is completely ineffective. It's just marching toward this point of no return. And
yeah.
I think I brought up respond on that, but I do want to touch on a
Oh, I
little
was just
bit of
saying,
the Trump issue.
yeah, and I was just saying, I never, I used to buy that, politicians were oblivious or like they didn't get it but no, I look at it and every single one knows exactly what they do. So that's the thing. I think a lot of people believe that, well, they just need to hear from us. They need, you know, I do believe. I guess it's just kind of a cynical view, But my take on it is, like, well, we might say government's ineffective, and I would say no, it's 100% effective at at doing what it's doing.
Right.
Like what it's doing and its intent are the same thing. Like it's just that they're handing us a line of bullshit, and people think, oh, they just don't get it. It's like, yeah, they do. You know what I mean? I
I
think
totally do.
they're actually very organized. They're very deliberate. They're never disillusioned. They're completely on point. They ain't dropping the ball. They are 100% effective. It's just that we think it has something to do with us. And that's the thing. And at this point, no. So what comes next? I don't know. But yeah, I see it kind of going towards like a totalitarianism with leaders who really dig, a very ruthless authoritarianism with just, using that fasci against the people, fascism. When you look at what is it? Is it Congress or the Senate? What is it in the background? I think it's where we've seen like Boner speak before, where
Yeah.
in the background you see the big two fascis. Like
Yeah. Okay.
it's like the two axes with like the sticks wrapped around it,
Yep.
and that was an old weapon where so I have an axe and it's long, but I wish I could hit people harder with it. But well, the head is hard to make bigger because that's metal and it's expensive. But if I just kind of wrap a bunch of more handles around it, then it's heavier and I can hit people with it, and it also doesn't break as easily. And so, the symbolism of the fasci ultimately uh, is the many used to hit the one. And so I've always wondered, like, why, who the crap put two fasci back there behind? I forget where that is, like who's speaking when we see that, but it's back there. It's I
How
don't
do
know.
you how are we spelling fasci? I'm going to look this up.
Oh
That's
gosh,
interesting.
F-A crap.
SHI
Yeah, fasci.
ish.
Yeah.
Fasci image. Fasci pardia. Is that?
Fasci party. Yeah. See, basically, the fasci.
I'm
The
getting.
fasci.
Yeah. I think I'm getting Farsi here. Fasci image.
Let me find this thing. The fasci. Fasci weapon.
Anyway, you're talking about symbolism in government, and yeah, uh, no doubt about it. And watching, I agree with you. I think there's more people becoming frustrated in what they, it's sickening if you devote so much of your time and energy, if you even bother to be involved in politics or involved in issues, and to watch the horse that you're backing consistently give you excuses of why things are not going the way we want them to. And every 4 years or so we blame these people get up and they blame the other guys. The Republicans are the devils, the Democrats are the devils. If we stop them, it's going to be a brand new utopia in the United States. And it's an absolute divide and conquer rhetoric mentality. And maybe it's always been that way throughout history. I know our country is certainly in the last half a century turned into this, as Eisenhower said, a nation ruled by a military-industrial complex, or a military-industrial complex becoming so intertwined with government that it directs policy. And that's where we're at. I mean, that is exactly where we're at. And you can walk through Walmart this Saturday and you'll see everything just, I know for the most part, people are just acting like there's nothing wrong. There's nothing going on. Everything's going to be okay because it has been for the last 5 years or the last 10 years. And really, no matter how many people are killed over there, no matter how bad the situation is around the world, it's not affecting me. I could still go buy, a head of lettuce for 99 cents at Walmart. But as soon as that changes, as soon as that, hits home, is going to be the Great Awakening in this country. And, even though more and more people are, tuning in to independent forms of media to find the truth, the old adage, a little too late, too little too late, I think comes into my mind.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Oh, and I found that
Oh, there it is, a fascia. Yeah, I see it here.
I actually found it. So if you look on Google Images, where is that? So where is that at? You'll actually see it. You'll actually
Oh
see.
yeah, I got it. I got it. Yeah.
Do you see the picture of a couple down? Oh, no, I lost it.
I've got it open right now. I've got the image.
Do you
It shows
see?
two fasciae on Congress.
Do you see
Yeah.
that? So you
Yeah.
wonder, like, what are those doing there? That is a historic, and I'll stick that in the notes. But that is, people don't know what we're talking about because they actually have
I'll,
arrows, yeah,
well,
arrows
yeah, and
pointing to them and
I'm
everything.
sending you that picture. I just copied
Yeah,
the actual image itself, so we can put that in the notes. And
yeah.
look, I
So
contributed to the notes.
boom, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So like, what are those doing there? That was no accident. I mean, somebody was like, what are we going to put there? Well, I mean, hey, that it. The shadow government that truly runs everything. There's that symbolism. Hey, people, while you're looking at the, supposedly, you know, epicenter here of, your will over government, well, check out these fasci here, you know.
It is very interesting. It looks like an unwieldy weapon, but
You can see some like there's many pictures in that link, but you see soldiers with it and all. Well, the thing was it was kind of a shield,
right
so
for the shaft.
it's yeah a shield for the shaft. So it's a shield. The people
So,
become a shield of the government, and then of course the many can knock down the one. It's actually an ancient meaning, the symbol, and you start thinking like, wait a second, what is that doing in Congress? What the hell? I know what it means. I mean, I bet you the person who put it there knew what it meant too. So, you know,
deep conspiracy here on guns and politics.
when a plan comes together.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
well, I would say that what when you mentioned when you asked earlier, like what would it take to wake people up? What would that be? And a lot of it, I think, is just I think World War III would wake people up. And I also think, especially when it was close, and I also think the dollar going potty would definitely wake people up. And I think that I don't know, people are getting smarter. Like one thing that I notice that I always find a lot of hope in, and it's an odd thing to find hope in, but you get it where you get it, is looking at magazines. Like it was not that okay, so basically if you go back to like 1970, it was very hard to find a book on yoga or Eastern thought or whatever, or a lot of things like, shamanism or something, right? Like, and now there's a huge section in any, Borders or Barnes and Nobles you go to.
Mhm.
Now it's just, you don't even think about it. There's as many books on that stuff as there is, computers, programming languages and stuff. So I look at, when I look at the magazine section, there are, gosh, there must be 5 or 6 at least prepper magazines out, and
Right.
a lot of them are actually pretty good. And you start thinking that, like, I have a little bit of a background in publishing and working at magazines, and you got to make money to get it on the shelf. It won't last very long. And so these magazines, more keep popping up. They're good quality. They're good writing for a magazine. But magazines are always great to see like what's up, what's new. It's kind of a great place to look at ads. Most of them are 65, 70% ads, but that's the idea. If you have an interest in something, that you see all the new stuff, advertised, and you can get a handle on, what's going on. So there's a market for that. And if you look at the survival section now in a bookstore, there's a survival section. Like there's, the SAS survival guide. There's um, uh, there's a lot of stuff, and people are actually buying it. They have multiple copies of some of these books. So anyhow, I mean, people are becoming aware. I mean, those
Sure.
magazines are on the shelf for some reason. So I think that also anything that you practice in your mind that you go through ahead of time, you'll have a better time with when the time comes. That's kind of how I see it. So
That's deep.
if so if you like, even though some of these things sound kind of doomy,
Yeah.
like shit hits the fan, what are you gonna do? If you go through these scenarios, and so like in your basement, whatever, like I have like my bug out stuff in my truck. I'm always ready to if I had to walk home, I can do it. I have my, um, I've got my extra water. You got the storable foods. Some are appetizing, some are not. But uh, if you've gone through those thoughts, so I did send a link to I linked to the video by Nut and Fancy, and one of his quotes is, "To say law-abiding citizens don't need guns is to say evil does not exist." And
Yeah,
so if you've thought about that and you've thought, well, you know, I mean, the evil does exist, and like I can tell people that having seen it firsthand, um, you don't need that much of a breakdown in a society before the cops don't exist anymore.
that's right.
And because they're taking care of themselves at that point, they're taking care of their own families. They're bugging out. A lot of a
Even
lot of them are
so,
unpopular, and so they want to get out of town where they're not known. And the thing is, like I saw it in Somalia, once there's lawlessness, there is that evil, and you're gonna have people, and you're gonna have bands of yahoos in a bunch of pickup
thugs.
trucks, thugs, and they're gonna be just raping and killing and robbing their way through neighborhoods,
Yeah. No, I
and
mean, I
are
saw
you
the same
ready
thing
for
in
that? Yeah, you
I saw
saw it.
the same thing in Iraq when this was pre the uh, despicable situation that they're in now. Far far worse now than it was even in 1991. But um, a very advanced nation turned into chaos in the realm of 60 days of bombing. And so you take a city, an area, a region that experiences that kind of complete breakdown in social infrastructure, and what do you get? You get a society that months earlier was unthinkable that they would be in this position. And I do remember throwing out MREs off the track vehicle to kids who were coming begging for them, and watching old men pummel them to take it from them because they were hungry, and that's in a month or two. They're hungry. They're going to do crazy, despicable things because that's what human nature boils down to. Is we're going to take care of ourselves and we're going to take care of our family. So, yeah, no, I agree with your analysis.
Yeah, and some people do, hold a certain moral edge, you'd say, and people do, pull together and work together, and I think you'd find, communities kind of beginning to take care of their own and such like that and cooperate. But and I think there's more of that than anything else. But if you're not ready to defend that, you're not going to have that. So if you've already gone through that in your mind, if you've gone, okay, when the people come to the neighborhood to rape, rob, and kill, you know, do I have my team ready to take them out?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or am I ready to get out of here? And where am I going to go? So I think,
I think your analysis is right on. I mean, in a nutshell, the prepared, by physical means, having essentials, but I think also more importantly, the mentally prepared, playing out these scenarios. The prepared are going to be the ones that have the luxury of morality. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, the luxury.
And
That's true. Yeah.
the luxury morality is going to go to the prepared, and the barbaric hordes are going to go to those who are just blindsided by a situation that was completely not even potentially on their radar. And
Exactly.
yeah,
It's a good term, the luxury of morality. I like that. The prepared will have the luxury of morality. It's
yeah,
true.
put
It's
it on
true.
a shirt.
The prepared will have the luxury of morality.
That's
Gosh,
right.
sounds like a
I
biblical quote.
Yeah, it came to me in a vision. It came. Uh, all right,
Oh
buddy.
gosh.
We're gonna call this one, but I definitely want to get together Saturday maybe and record one for next week just so we don't have that gap. I guarantee you, there's going to be no a way for me to do this from China. I would love to, and maybe over the last 2 years since I've been there, um, Wi-Fi or the internet has gotten a little better out where I'm going to be. And if so, I'll go for it. But if not, we better put one in the can.
Gotcha. No, that sounds good. It's good time to call it. And I'll just think, as one last thing I would say, as far as
Yes.
like the
Yeah. And if you have a
um,
gun you want to talk about, get it out there.
yeah, like gear that Greg and Charlie would like. So
Hmm.
there's one thing I saw recently that just came out is the from oh what's this company's name? Surefire. They just came out with it's fairly new I think. It's a light for a pistol, has the pickaninny, grip on it, hooked to a rail. So usually, under the barrel of a gun that has that, of a
Hmm.
pistol that has that. So it's actually not too pricey. I think it was like under $200 maybe, and it was, which is kind of pricey, but it's a 600 lumen pistol light that's fairly low profile. So I've never been one who really thinks about lights that much, especially on a pistol. But
Hmm.
there is just, especially since the form factor's gotten pretty small, that's a 600 lumen light on your pistol is pretty badass. And if somebody, if it was dark or not, or slightly dark, and you give somebody a quick, you know, shot of light in the face, then aim it down at their chest and say, who are you? What are you doing here? Um, I guess a rifle works too, but anyway, I just never thought of actually a light on a pistol being really that practical until I saw one that was 600 lumens and small. I just thought that might be a badass idea. So
Yeah, I'm looking at their site right now, and um I've seen, let's see, I see the X300, which that might be the one I have, because I
there's
think it's only a 200 or so
yeah,
lumen.
it just got
Oh,
bumped
here it
up.
is.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was like 2 or 3, but now it's 600, and so I mean, I guess that would fit on a rifle too, but it seems like it's made for a pistol, and it's like that's just that's a hell of a lot of light. I
Yeah,
mean, I've never, yeah,
that is, I'm looking at it now. They got it as new, so they bumped it up. But I think mine might be 400, but it is the X300, I think.
yep,
But it's about 4 or 5 years old. But I have it right now on that full rail on my that AR-15 I was building, and it has a strobe feature and just regular light. But bad, they're awesome. I mean, they will light up a room in a heartbeat. And if you get, me and my kid would sit there and do the strobe feature, and it'll make you physically ill. It's so powerful.
yeah. And now it's got 600 lumens. So I was thinking, I know I've never really, I don't know, just thinking about that light and the idea of it fitting on a pistol. I was like, maybe I'm starting to be talked into the idea. Just I'm like, that wouldn't. I just don't think that would be very good for daily carry. But in a sense, for your, a home defense. Somewhere where you're going to be, and you don't have to carry it around. That's I don't know. It's almost like sometimes something doesn't speak to you, and then one day you go, oh. Now 600 lumens for that much money. Oh, maybe,
Yeah,
because that's a weapon in itself. I mean,
sure.
I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And then
Well,
other than, yeah,
I was going to say, now you got me looking at their site, and I have that beefier one, but the one that XC1, it's only a 200 lumen, which is still very, very bright. But that's a super low profile. I mean, it fits on your lower rail of your handgun, but I mean, it's almost invisible. It's tiny, tiny. So yeah, but I mean, it's a spendy. I think it's 299 as well.
they're
But
spendy. I think
yeah,
it's that they're getting smaller. Their runtime is getting longer, and they're getting brighter, and they're kind of for the lumens starting to go down in price, you might say. I
yeah,
think, and so now, I mean, you start thinking like, how long until you have like 1,000 lumens, very small form factor on a handgun. I mean, that's just, you start thinking, wow, I don't know, that's impressive. I mean,
I
people put them on rifles all the time, but your form factor is not quite as important there.
right,
You
yeah,
know,
exactly. That form factor. You're right. In fact, I'm right in my hand right now. I have my 92, well, M9A1 Beretta, and I have a paddle holster for it, Kydex style, and I've only looked here. I looked out in Seattle when I was out there last for one that would accommodate uh, an aftermarket light or laser, and it's just hard to find that equipment, So the smaller, the lower the profile. I think for a handgun, lights are, if that's your home defensive weapon, that critical. I mean, what are you going to, if you have a situation that requires you to grab that, what are you going to flip on the lights and business is normal, or do you want that added weapon on your gun? You need it. I mean, you need to see what the threat is, and hopefully blind it.
No, it's exactly. Yeah, it's especially. I started thinking about that when um, the other day I was in a parking lot. I mean, nobody attacked me or anything, but I was in a parking lot and I was hopping in the truck and I was tired after work, wasn't really paying attention, and then somebody kind of like was right there by me, and they were just going to their car, you know.
Hmm.
But I realized like, holy crap, that person got really close and I didn't notice, and that's unusual. And it just made me think how, if that person had been uh, aggressive, like basically was meaning to do me harm, a good 600 lumens in the face would definitely get their attention, and I would be able to identify them, and they would know that I saw them, and they'd be kind of blind, and they'd also be downrange, and I could
Yeah.
say, what do you want? So
It's going to stop whatever they're doing. It's going to maybe not stop it, but it's going to change the dynamic instantaneously, right?
yeah, I've been thinking about that. So I don't know. I just saw that light, I just started thinking. I was like,
So
I mean, mhm.
In Beijing, there's before we leave, the last day we'll be there, we'll be in Beijing, and there's a shop, a mall, very modern mall, but it's 100% knockoff. And I don't even know how far-fetched it is because the crap we buy here is all made there anyway. I don't know about these Surefires if they're produced, in the U.S., but it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't.
I think they
Uh,
are. Yeah,
okay, well,
I think
in
so.
in this mall, each level is a different category, and they do have a level that is tactical crap. I mean, lights and all kinds of accessories that are available there, and the pricing. It's really bizarre. You go in and you start negotiating. They start at a ridiculously high number, and usually you can buy the stuff pretty cheap. So for Craig, I'm going to try to find you the the X300 knockoff, and we'll give that. It's all we can afford on our low budget, our low budget production. Let's see if we can't pick it
Exactly.
up for $20.
Oh,
But
geez, that'd be
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Well, that's all I got. I sent you a link just now for one last thing is you can get they're kind of popular right now. I think tactical for that operator in your life that you just can't figure what am I going to get this person, like what do you get for the operator who has everything. I'm not sure if any operator has everything, but if there is one and you're like what can I get them, there's tactical Christmas stockings.
oh my God.
I just
Okay.
sent you a link to it. Tactical Christmas stockings. I mean, I, Christmas as fuck, man.
We're
you
we're
know,
we're arming it up. Oh, that's awesome. It's got a
I just
little oh my God.
it's got some
It's got
Velcro for like
the Molly web on there, and
uh,
I mean it looks
it,
pretty handy actually.
I know. I'm just like I want to get a bunch just for people for like pre-Christmas. Like, hey man, or sometimes you give somebody a gift of a stocking that's kind of stuffed, you know.
Hmm.
And I'm just thinking like put like a couple bricks of 22 in there and stuff like that, like a life straw and stuff like that.
There
Oh,
you go.
that could just be the
Your
great,
your bug out stocking.
Oh, a bug out stocking.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, bug out stockings. That's awesome. So that's what I had. The Surefire and the bug out stocking. That is badass. Anyway, it totally maybe just a waste of $20, but it's just freaking awesome.
I hope you ordered one. I hope you ordered one.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, I will plan on you and I getting together Saturday, but I want to thank everybody for joining us for Guns and Politics number 6, and we, by hell or high water, have something for you next week as well. Thank you everybody for continuing to watch. As always, we don't want your money, we just want your time. And if you want to promote and help us, just send a link to your friend that you think might enjoy the program, and let's keep doing it.
Yeah, and definitely. And comment what shit hits the fan scenario have you thought about and you've gotten ready for mentally?
Yeah. What is your? Let's be real. What is your? Uh, you know,
Because it's area specific a lot. Like living in the city is way different than living in the
right. And
country.
are you terrified of it? Or are you looking at a breakdown crisis in a romantic kind of way? That's what I like to garner from people. Do you think it's going to be a fun camping experience, or as people like Craig and I've seen around the world, a very, very unpleasant, demoralizing, hopeless situation? What do you think?
Yeah,
So,
right
and
on.
put it in the comments, and
And I'll
we will
troll them.
talk about it. Yeah, Craig will do his troll thing. He loves it. He's great at it.
Yeah. All
You know.
right.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you. Talk to you Saturday.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Yep. Bye.